All right, everyone, got to talk about midterm scandals because they're rocking the Democratic Party. Their hope was that mainly the focus would be on, orange man bad sort of stuff. Like, oh, Trump is mean to migrants, or the Trump economy is slowing down, which it didn't. That, again, it takes an arrow out of their quiver. Instead, if the Republicans manage to maintain control of the House, and trust me, Trump doesn't give a fuck at this point. If they do, it'll be due to one of three things, and possibly a combination. Number one, good economic indicators. Again, one less attack line for the Democrats, one more thing that some Republicans can trump up, pardon the pun, on the campaign trail to get squeeze a few extra points of voting totals in. Number two will be polling differentials. The possibility, regardless of what you think, that polling is off systemically. If it is, by even a couple of points, the Republicans maintain the House. Number three, though, honestly, it'll be Project Veritas. Yeah, these people should be sucking up to O'Keefe a little bit more now, first and foremost. Yes, James O'Keefe is a partisan. He is a conservative. The fact that he's going primarily off to infiltrate Democrat campaigns isn't a coincidence. No, but as a counterpart to that, does it really matter? Does the fact that he's a conservative bother you? It doesn't bother me. There's plenty of liberal investigative journalism going on. In fact, I would call much of it yellow journalism and pure hype and spin with regards to Trump and everyone associated with him. Hell, you got smear pieces and so-called investigative journalism trickling down and getting aimed at YouTubers now if they're too much in support of the MAGA stuff. It's really, really funny to see. So when I see that the corporate media is unwilling or unable to investigate allegations of corruption or scandals or whatever, for Sinema, for McCaskill, for Donnelly, for Gillum, for Beto, all these different people and their staffers and campaigners, when I see that, I'm like, well, someone's got to do it. What the fuck? Who cares? The Democrats right now are running scared. You see the lay people, like the craptivist side of the social justice warriors, are trying to shoot the messenger, like, oh, don't listen to O'Keefe, he selectively edited a video. Yeah, they say he's known for selective editing. Okay, one or two incidents over the course of a decade and a half, that's pretty good. By the way, that's no different than like the fucking the New York Times and CNN and groups like that have literally done the same thing. So do you want them to be deplatformed? Instead, they'll focus on O'Keefe. They're trying to claim that he's a pervert and stuff too, again, without any evidence whatsoever. They did this to Assange, who, by the way, I think has had his internet fully cut off again, unfortunately. O'Keefe is doing what he thinks is right. The fact is, nobody else is going to try to expose these campaigns for their lies. You're more angry, because you're a partisan, if you're a Democrat, you're angry at O'Keefe for exposing, for example, the fact that Claire McCaskill, in her own words, is lying to her voters about guns. She's anti-gun. That she doesn't talk about that on the campaign trail now, does she? She waters it down for a more seemingly moderate audience because she's in Missouri, a state that leans 10 points to the Republicans' has the tendency to do that. When she talks about other issues, when Sinema talks about guns or taxes, she's misrepresenting herself. Donnelly, who just got through screwing himself on a live debate stage anyway, gets hammered by Project Veritas additionally to that on the subject of unions. Beto O'Rourke's staffers are using campaign funds illegally. This is very illegal for them to do this, to help the migrant caravan, despite the fact that the Democrats keep saying there's no coordination involved with any political campaign whatsoever to have anything to do with it. Well, I guess that you're wrong. Even if it is just staffers that aren't authorized by the candidate, it doesn't matter. They're still partisan Democrats. Still on a political campaign. I'd say that's as close as it can be. Then you have Gillum. His staffer there exposed as a racist and saying that Gillum doesn't even believe the shit that comes out of his mouth. No, he's just whipping the poor into a frenzy. This is, by the way, a state run by insert racial group here and slur here that you can't say on YouTube. Or you can, it rhymes with smacka. So, I know, it's rather funny. It's funny how AI censorship has begun to give people language Creole capabilities as well, which is something I suggested 2 years ago. But these scandals are harming the Democrats. Let it be known, it's definitely having an effect. You can tell in the way that they react to these things. Now, ultimately, now it's too late in the game for anything other than a double doozy to have any impact on any of these races. A lot of people have already voted, they've already made up their mind, and or they're already partisan. 90% of the votes are already basically guaranteed at this point. By the end of tomorrow, it'll be 99%. So if Project Veritas is going to release any last-minute crazy shit, it'd have to be basically like midday today. sort of the cutoff. I would say that the Gillum release is the most damning. Because here you have a staffer and someone who is friendly with him too, with Andrew Gillum. He's running for governor against DeSantis. By the way, you should definitely vote DeSantis. Hold your nose if you have to. You know, it's like NJ.com endorsing Menendez. Okay, he's a Florida politician. Of course he's corrupt. There's no way around it. It's like in the Senate race between Rick Scott and Bill Nelson. If I was there, I'd be flipping a coin if I didn't want to punish the Democratic Party for being dumb. Here's the thing. That potentially trickles down to the Senate race. In a race where it's a dead heat, a few thousand voters could make the difference. A few thousand people, like a fraction of a percent of the voting public in that race, where early voting already, by the way, favors Scott and DeSantis anyway. The fact that Gillum could end up embroiled in a scandal like that turns people off in the state to the general partisan notion of Democrats as a whole could give Rick Scott the election too. If Rick Scott wins in Florida, give Veritas the credit. Give them credit for the Republicans retaining the Senate, by the way, and possibly making significant gains. Look, McCaskill was already behind. She probably loses. Now, in Nevada, it looks good for the Republicans. They probably win that. They probably lose Montana, which doesn't really matter. I think that was a Democratic incumbent anyway. That was just a potential pickup. I think they've lost the chance in Montana. I could be wrong. Again, polling differentials. They could win in New Jersey. I just don't see it happening. With Sinema, it's better than 50-50 for the Republicans because of the last-minute scandal. But it's not entirely clear. Again, we're going to get one last slew of general polling today. This will probably eliminate a few of the toss-ups in the House races. It'll give us a much more clear picture for the Senate. As of tomorrow, though, any polling, it's kind of late for that now, isn't it? Last-minute expectations, exit polls and shit are what you get then. What I would say is this. Project Veritas has done a very good job. They are doing actual investigative journalism. The fact that James O'Keefe is politically motivated doesn't matter. That's called shooting the messenger. All these people, they're saying, well, he's known for selective editing. Okay, are you speculating? Are you alleging that any of these videos are selectively edited? No, of course not, because they're presented pretty much as is. We've got chunks of raw footage. They're not edited whatsoever. You can't make that claim, so you're defaulting to the fucking Acorn video 15 years ago or whatever it is. Or was it the Planned Parenthood video that he didn't get arrested for? You know, I think they tried to charge him. Didn't he get found not guilty, or they dropped the charges anyway? Pretty sure they did. He's still around despite tangling, with the Obama administration too. So, yeah, that's a pretty good thing. You know, Obama was spying on the AP journalists too. You know, you don't hear too much about that in modern discourse about the rights of the free press. No, James O'Keefe he's a private citizen. He can attempt to do this. It's not fraud. To have someone go in and say, I'm volunteering for the campaign. Look, the campaign has signed them up. They're not signing away legal documentation saying, oh yeah, by the way, I'm not a spy for James O'Keefe. As far as I know, totally legal. Go ahead. By the way, McCaskill, when she loses, she'll probably try to sue him. Oh, that'll be funny. She tried to get Hawley, her opponent, who's the acting AG in the state of Missouri, he tried to force him to investigate Veritas. He's like, and there's a conflict of interest politically. It's not illegal, number two. It would be really weird if I were to try to bring charges against him. Now, what do you expect me to do? It's like a week until voting happens. Fucking, it's not going to help you. So she tried to claim it was fraud and then shoot the messenger. It's very funny. None of these people, by the way, in responding to these scandals, has actually just owned up to it. Donnelly's, I think, is concerning. His support for unions, again, it's like if McCaskill doesn't like guns, or Sinema likes higher taxes, or Donnelly loves unions, or Gillum doesn't give a fuck about people and is trying to whip the poor into a frenzy, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Just be straightforward about that. Be open about the fact that those are your views. Don't pretend to be more moderate or more liberal than you actually are. And I'm sure there are Republicans that do this, so don't get me wrong. But whenever they do it, they get exposed for it. They get raked over the coals constantly by the whole corporate media complex. O'Keefe is one of only a few people that's actually going after the so-called other side. And most of these people, they're pretending to be neoliberals. They're actually far left. Now, isn't that interesting? I wonder if that trickles down to other elements of the Democratic Party. That's about all. Peace out.